right. I'd like to thank everybody for coming to today's community development meeting on February 2nd. To all our guests that are listening or anyone that's listening out there, we want to say welcome. First, I'll let you know, we have in the room Councilman Johnson, Councilman Hudson, and Jefferson, and myself, Chris Williams. And we'll go ahead and move right on into the first item, which is 2021-49 update for CDBG-CV funding. And I'll turn it over to Michelle.
And I'm waiting for it to appear on the screen.
Okay.
Anyhow, moving right along. You can see in the handouts that I gave you that we've now reached a level of about almost 67% of funds expended. And so now we're at a point where we feel like it's a good time to release the rest of the funds. We have 4 agencies that provide, for one that does mortgage, rental, and utility assistance, and the other 3 will do rental and utility assistance. And so we want to allocate the remaining $198,343 to those 4 agencies. That'll be on council's agenda 15th to do that. And then that will get them going or allow them to continue. They're seeing a lot of demand, as you might expect. We still have the second allocation that we have not moved forward on. We're still working to develop a project for that rather than just, because all the other money that's floating around, the emergency relief funds that just came in. I think Guilford County got $8 million. We're looking to do something sort of unique to High Point. That's probably going to be a facility of some kind or participate in some kind of facility oriented towards the homeless. But we're still working through that. It's going to take a while to figure that out. I think also with the pandemic, I think you're aware of the relief bill. I extended all the dates out by a year. So in the December, and they took it out to December next year. I wasn't planning on going through it. I just put this information here for your reference, but individual reports for each agency that has received funding for, so you can kind of see who's doing what and what level of success they've had. Do they know that we're not up?
They will shortly.
Okay. So,
excuse me, Mike.
yes, sir.
Councilman Johnson, you said they extended it to next year, or that this year?
They extended it. Originally when the relief funds came out from the county, they said they had the end of December to spend it, and state as well with the HOPE funds. And then they extended it to December 2021.
Okay, I got you.
So I think everybody kind of exhaled on that a little bit.
Yes. Thank you.
Not that I would try to get you to forecast anything like that, but have we seen anything in the potential bill? Do we have any clue? Do we have any clue on any, the president's 1.9 package proposal? Do we know of?
My crystal ball's not that good.
Well, I was curious if they actually.
Yeah, I'm forced to look at the news like everybody else.
Yeah.
But depending on what news you watch, you get different insights. But from what I saw today, they're prepared to move forward with a reconciliation if they can't get a bipartisan. And I think most of it, the only thing that doesn't fit in a reconciliation might be the minimum wage increase. So it could be that it's everything but that, but they've actually already put it out there. So, but during that process, they could still have a regular vote if they can get 60. But if they can't get 60, they can do the reconciliation and do it with 51. So they're kind of, I think it was put out there today.
Thank you.
As I said, I have these details, but I just have them for your reference. You can look at them at your convenience, but it ties into the summary that I showed you earlier. Want to talk about the emergency assistance program too, just to put some more dots out there. Again, that came through the COVID relief bill. You know, from what I understand, the county is going to get 8 million and Greensboro is going to get 9 million. That's based on population. So Greensboro is the largest population center. So really the 8 million is for everything outside of Greensboro.
Within the county.
Within the county. And we probably represent almost half of that. Not quite half, but yeah. So we're, you know, trying to have some discussion. Right, my understanding is the county is going to run it through DSS. And we're just going to have a friendly inquiry just to see if we can add value to what they're doing. But it should, High Point's share of that should be probably 2 or 3 million, but I don't think they'll look at it as our share, but they'll still probably going to be first come, first serve. I've got a call into them, but I can't get it. We're playing phone tag, so. But there are some big differences. One of the big differences is that this thing goes out to 12 months. The assistance goes out to 12 months, actually up to 15 months to ensure housing stability. And still you have the no duplication of benefits stuff. We're not sure what that means. So now you got the HOPE program out there. Basically said if you got assistance from the HOPE program, you can't access this program. So there's a lot of sorting out from that. And this is administered by the Treasury Department. It's not HUD. It's just different sets of rules. Still fundamentally, the 80% of the median is where the cutoff is for families. And so that's pretty much the way it's going to work out.
To review, was this like not in place when the HOPE was going on, and then I know HOPE stopped taking applications?
This was after that.
This is right after they.
My understanding is that they're reinstated it, but their website still says they're not taking applications. So I don't know if they're going back and catching the ones that they couldn't do before. The state, well, you can see the state got $702 million, but that's to be distributed. You know, the counties, the urban counties get their share. And I think they said 45% of that goes to those counties. So the state still probably has 300 million.
So for them to get access to this, they would go to the county site, or you say DHS? They would go there.
My understanding is, yeah, they would go in High Point, they would go right over there to Russell Street.
Okay, they would go there.
But I believe they're supposed to have a website up tomorrow or this week.
Would it be possible, when we know it for sure, that we can maybe put a link to this from our site?
Oh, that's already been directed. As soon as that becomes available.
Good deal.
Yeah, I was going to say, we're kind of monitoring when they're going to have theirs live. And as soon as it is, Jerron and the communication staff should be ready to jump on that and link to the county resources. So want to get that information out just as soon as possible. But as Mike said, we think right now it's going to be centered through the county.
For a certain time period, like March through December of 20, or is that from a certain time period, anytime forward, like until it's all gone?
Well, the deadline is still December 30th, 2021. So you already have a little mismatch there.
We have some people that have been, that have got HOPE money or other funds that have covered past
Yeah,
delinquencies. And now, but they still aren't able to keep up with their current situation.
yeah, I'm not sure how that's going to work. I know that, at least with the HOPE funds, the landlord has to agree not to evict the tenant in order to get, I think they can get a lump sum of 6 months. Might be the same with this, but it's just, everybody's still digesting what to do or how to do it.
We received assurances on HOPE funds, we haven't received anything back yet.
Haven't received any, you haven't received any funds? When was it, when did you get your confirmation?
We provided them with a file 2 months ago.
And confirmation that they received it at least? And then nothing? Okay. Thank you. Go ahead, Mike, I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm going to switch over to the multifamily information. Last month I had shared with you there was 6 or 7 projects that we expected to be applied for. There was actually only one tax credit applied for out of High Point. That is the Hartley Metals project out in Hartley Drive. And then there is the Wendover Heights project was submitted. I think last night you voted to set the public hearing for the annexation for that site last night. Now, in talking with the developer on the tax exempt bonds, they don't have the deadline that they have on the 9% tax. You're still going to submit it. I'm thinking at least 3 more projects. These are, if the numbers work, they can get it. You know, it's almost non-competitive, as the tax credit is very competitive. You see there was 192 applications for the tax credits, and there'll probably be 30 approved. But on the tax exempt bonds, those are non-competitive. The state has the funds, they'll make it available if the numbers work, if the project's viable. So my understanding is I don't know if I got it up here. Well, yeah, Avondale Trace is open, they're leasing it up. Abbey Crossing still hasn't started yet, but that one's an approved project. Island Creek is the project down off of South Main. That one, he expects to submit for that. That'll be a 4% tax exempt bond. Walnut Ridge is undetermined. They were going to apply for 9% tax credits on that and did not get that in. And so whether they're going to come back and do a bond application or wait until the following year, we don't know yet. So what they're going to do. This is the West Wendover site that we mentioned earlier. And I know there's 1 or 2 other sites that he's still looking at, but he's doing property assembly, so I can't really say. I can tell you in the hallway. So we're kind of watching that. And again, on the bond, there's no financial commitment by the city. You know, we wouldn't have to supplement it in any way. The city would have to issue the bonds. But the bond is coming from the state, not from the city. So it doesn't impact our bond cap or debt capacity or anything like that. Just as I mentioned before, just as the housing authority issued, I think it was $11 million in bonds for Daniel Brooks, but it was through the state. So the state requires a local partner to do that. And the city just, city would actually, I think, make a little money off of it because you get an issuance fee. So we'll have more information at your next meeting. I expect we'll be having discussions with Winfield, and I've already had some preliminary discussions with some of our guys and figure out how that, how all the pieces fall in place and who has to check with who and all that kind of stuff. But it's my understanding, well, I know that it's not a bond like a GO bond or a 2/3 bond. It doesn't affect us from that standpoint. We're just the issuing agency. Okay. Let's see. So we'll keep you posted on that.
It's potentially good news.
Urgent repair program, that doesn't require a slide. I can just share with you what's going on. We have a $100,000 urgent repair program that's funded through North Carolina Housing Finance Agency. And we've been having problems getting contractors to bid because these are not big projects. These are $8,000, $9,000, maybe $5,000 projects. And so what we've discussed with Housing Finance is, well, how about if we did a sole source Community Housing Solutions? Community Housing Solutions actually receives URP funding, and they work outside of High Point, Russell County, and we cover High Point. And so what we talked to Housing Finance about is, how about if we amend our procurement policy in this program where we can have the sole source with them and contract with them to provide those services, which means we can provide them faster. Because they're already set up to do, they're a nonprofit, they're already set up to do those small size projects. So that'll be coming to you on the 15th as well, to amend our contract with the state, our policy, and to approve a contract with CHS to provide those services.
This, just so it's, I guess for an FYI, they are actually one of our partners with Operation Inasmuch. So
Yes.
we've worked with them for a few years now. So it's not like someone we don't know.
And they're building for us in Cedro.
Right.
I keep telling them that he needs to just come on, move over here. Yeah, so we treat you better than those other guys do. Come on, just stay here. but they, so the state has already given us a verbal, just send in the paperwork. So just wanted to make you aware of that so you wouldn't be surprised when it comes to you. I don't know if that's something you need to vote on.
Just to make we wouldn't take action now. We could make a positive recommendation from the board if we felt that way. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because there won't be any change in the number of units served or anything like that, or financially the size of the program. It's just that we're going to be utilizing them as a sole source rather than bidding out to contractors to improve the performance of the program.
I think that's an appropriate action, Chairman Williams.
Okay. Well, good. Then maybe y'all can help me word that. Word.
I guess just that you would recommend approval of the urgent repair program with changes to urgent repair program to allow for a contract with CHS.
Okay, recommendation for the urgent repair program to allow for a contract with, you say CHM?
CHS, yeah.
Yes.
Sorry, I keep calling it M. CHS. I make that as a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. I think Councilman Johnson beat you to it. So,
Too much glass between.
no, a lot of reverb here. Okay, so we have a second, and I'll go ahead and, is there any other discussion on the matter? All right, then, I'll take a vote. Councilman Johnson,
Aye.
Councilman Jefferson,
Aye.
Councilman Hudson.
Aye.
And Councilman Williams vote aye, so that passes.
Thank you, sir. This is a high point. Well, thank you.
And so the next thing is the presentation of the action plan schedule.
Yeah, I've got the schedule up. Just wanted to make you aware of the schedule that we're on for the action plan. You can see that we'll be running an ad Sunday, I guess. Is that the 7th? Yeah. For citizen participation meetings, we're going to have some virtual meetings, one in the daytime and 2 at night. And then we will review a draft plan with the CAC on the 25th. We'll review that plan with you on the 4th of April. We'll get the CAC's input on it. We'll make the plan available for a 30-day review. That requires that we have a public comment period, so that'll be out there April 1 through the 30th. Then on the 4th and 6th, when we'll present to you. Then on the 19th, we'll come to council for public hearing presentation to them. And typically what we do is, we do the presentation, but we table it so that you have an opportunity to digest it. And if you got any questions we need to respond to, and then we'll come back on the 3rd and ask you to approve it so we can finalize it and submit it to HUD. I just wanted to make you aware of that schedule. You'll start seeing ads in the paper and stuff. That's what that's about.
Okay.
And I think that's it for me, sir. I believe the next person speaking will be Dr. Palmer and Mr. Hahn.
Hello, everyone. This is Pam. How are you all doing this afternoon?
Doing well.
Doing well? Well, hope you are.
Good. Brian, I'm gonna let you go first, and I'm gonna follow you today.
Okay, sounds good. Well, hello everybody. I have a few reports to share, and I want to begin just with a brief update on the collaborative applicant transition. That is proceeding very well with Guilford County leadership. We are receiving regular technical support, HUD technical support. We're close to getting the county to be able to register for the federal funding that was just recently announced this coming March funding cycle to begin. So I'm really pleased. We're working closely with Heather Skeen. She's the Director of Health and Human Services at Guilford County, and is very engaged with the work we're doing in the COC. And we're also in the process of supporting her and her team. They're in, drafting a job description that will be soon public, and they are going to have a staff person dedicated specifically to the work we do in homelessness for Guilford County. So that is proceeding well. I continue, and PH continues to be a support to her and her team. And certainly Dr. Palmer is very involved in that as well, in representing the COC as their board chair. The second item I have to share is just regarding the point in time count. That is an annual count you may be aware of that we do. It is required of HUD. This year, we did it, despite the challenges of COVID, we were able to have 2 teams, actually 4 teams, 2 teams in Greensboro, 2 teams in High Point to go out and make a count. We identified a total of 49 unsheltered clients. That was 24 in Greensboro, 25 in High Point. That doesn't include the 33 guests we had that night at our county hotel. And though they're sheltered, they were awaiting a shelter placement. So you could include that number, as well as the 80 or so guests at the City of Greensboro Hotel, where they also are sheltering folks from the winter. I think this is important noting also that our teams canvass the county with camps, and there are 52 identified homeless camps in Greensboro and 19 in High Point. That's a lot of camps. And we lean very heavily, just so you know, in High Point on some of our leadership, both former police officer, as well as our street outreach team and volunteers to really go to those camps and get a head count of how many folks are unsheltered. So I wanted to share, first of all, those two things with you, just the transition and the point in time count. Any questions about that before I get a little bit more specific into winter sheltering?
Questions? No questions. You can go ahead, Bruce.
Okay, great. All right. The last thing I'll just share is, as you know, we're in the thick of winter. We've actually had a fairly calm winter, although that could be changing in the next coming days and weeks in terms of the spike and drop in cold and then potential winter weather. And I just wanted to bring to you a couple of not just concerns, but maybe even of asks that are coming from the sheltering network. We continue to meet weekly. Our COVID response task force continues to meet weekly. And I just wanted to share a few things that they have expressed to us of need for your consideration. One is obviously funding. The county stepped up to fund their winter sheltering and COVID relief costs in excess of their budgeted dollars through December of 2020. We're still waiting to hear what kind of COVID relief may or may not come in 2021. And so they continue to shelter these clients with limited resources, and that is certainly a need. Additionally, supplies continue to be a need for our shelter network. Paper products, cleaning supplies, even increased food costs and cleaning costs. So I want to just kind of put that before you. Those continue to be ongoing needs. Thirdly, transportation. We're leaning, fortunately, that the county is helping us transporting folks to and from the county hotel to the shelter system. But they are having to be mindful if we have winter weather and if the bus system shuts down or if the county system can't drive their fleet. We're often leaning on outfitters like Lyft or Uber, and so that could be a need in the next few months. And then lastly is just space. As you know, these shelters have been operating at or below 50% capacity since last March, doing a fantastic job, frankly, a heroic job. We have moved nearly 700 folks safely into shelter since last March, and only 6% have been COVID positive. To me, that's an incredible feat, knowing that our shelters, which are congregate housing, were going to be high risk. So we continue to explore space options. Hotels have seemed to be the default, but those are challenging because they're expensive and they're challenging to manage. I know because we work closely with the county hotel, which is just a short-term stay until we can identify shelter for our clients. I wanted to put those four things before you. And I wanted you also to know that we're working and advocating really hard. I know there's been a lot of confusion about vaccination and priorities. We're trying very hard to get our shelter network in the higher level of vaccination. Currently, obviously 75 and older and 65 and older have bumped what I view as our frontline responders from receiving that vaccine. So we're working closely with our public health department. And again, Ms. Skeens, regarding, how we can expedite that. That's been a challenge statewide, not just for our network, but certainly other frontline responders seeking a vaccine. So that's my update and report. I'm willing to take any questions on those topics.
Thank you, Brian. Are there any questions?
Mr. Chairman. we got one.
Yeah. Hang on just 1 second. Got Greg Ferguson.
Greg Ferguson, Assistant City Manager. Can you speak to the 25 unsheltered individuals in the count and then the relationship with the 19 camps that were identified? Are those numbers, how does that relate? Is that a one-to-one comparison? Or?
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't know that level of specifics. Obviously some of our some of our camps are smaller than others. They tend to be mobile, but I can work on getting you more specifics on that.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions, Brian? All right. Thank you, Brian. And
You're welcome.
Turning over to Dr. Palmer now.
Thank you for the opportunity to share with you an update as it relates to and in particular, our ongoing work to partner with Guilford to support us in serving the homeless population across the county. Brian did mention our progress that we've made in that is a job that will be created in the Department of Services with Guilford County, and that position will report to Heather Skeens, and as you all know, she is the recently appointed director of both the Public Health Department and DSS. So we're glad to report that progress because, as you know, last year this time we were being challenged in a lot of different ways, and we've managed to collaborate our way and partner our way to this point in terms of having a position now created and position will report directly to the county DHHS director is a milestone for us. So we're glad to report a couple of things that's real specific to that. The announcement or that position title and the like, the plan is that public at some point in the month of February. The has worked directly with Brian and I to craft that job description and have included the task force, the Stronger Together task force, the task force that was as a result of all of us learning that the city of Greensboro was exploring separating from the COC. So we're again share that work. Also, I just wanted to bring to this committee's attention, and I've said this in the past, but I felt like today it warranted repeating, of community development and housing with the city of High Point has been very instrumental in all the work that we have been doing in collaborating with the county. Wilson, your Assistant Director of Community Development and Housing, has served as chair, has chaired our governance committee, has chaired our systems performance committee, and continues to support the work that we do. And I just wanted to say that help we needed that help, and Nina has provided that help in an exceptional way. And I wanted to just bring that to your attention. So a part of the work that we had, excuse me, this latter part was that we had to evaluate our collaborative applicant, of which is Partners in Homelessness. And Nina was instrumental in that evaluation process, developing the tool, working with the committee evaluation, then share the evaluation with all of the governing entities. And this is work that it takes all of us to do, but I just wanted to point out, the city of High Point is being represented very well. Michelle McNair serves on COVID-19 response task force and has worked diligently on that committee and with how we've responded to COVID-19. Alicia Doolin has filled in various ways to help us out. And so I just wanted to committee and also to Mike, I just want to express our appreciation of sending us, your individuals and staff from the Department of Development and Housing. It has made a tremendous difference in all the work that we do. And again, we are now in a place where there will be a position specifically working with the COC, serving as a liaison from our ward and our membership body, interacting with all the different departments of county. And I just think that High Point should be recognized for that. And thank you for your time. Thank you for these opportunities to give an update, and we'll keep reporting out as things progress.
Thank you, Dr. Palmer. Is there any questions or comments? Anyone want to? I appreciate that. I'll definitely have a conversation with the manager that we relay our thanks also for the staff of the of Mike's department and the work that they've done to help push this along. And then I know it's much needed right now, especially with the weather being as it is. And I can't imagine. I thought I was dying today when I was walking around downtown. I can't imagine having to stay outside for that extended period of time. So thank you again for all your work.
Thank you.
All right, last, I am going to turn it over to Councilman Jefferson. We wanted to hear at least a conversation or a presentation from the High Point Community Investment Campaign. So without me trying to steal thunder or anything of the sort, I'll turn it over to Councilman Jefferson to give us information.
Chairman Williams, thank you. I appreciate that, and thank everyone else for the space for us to at least chat about it a little bit further. You all recall about 3 months ago, it's when the first time the council had the chance to hear about the High Point Community Investment Campaign. And since then, there's been a number of updates and progress made towards that. Joining with us today is Reverend Dr. Frank Thomas, who is one of the leaders with the steering committee for the High Point Community Investment Campaign, who's actually leading the fundraising efforts for that campaign. Essentially, as you know, just as a baseline, the campaign is to raise $1 million so that we can support the development and establishment of an initiative that's now titled the High Point Equity Project, which is a collaborative sort of solution via many partners in our city. Many of the big community-facing stakeholders are involved in it. And so I want to pass it over to Reverend Frank Thomas, and then maybe if we can have a chat about what the opportunities are. I know there are some updates that we're mindful of, but I won't belabor the moment. Reverend Thomas, are you there?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Jefferson. Mr. Chairman, Mr. Williams, thank you so much for allowing me to share this time. I do just want to make one caveat or correction. Mr. Jefferson said raise $1 million. I would offer raise at least $1 million. So we're not going to cap at $1 million, but that is our initial goal. The reason, I think the reason I'm here today is to highlight the urgency of the matter for the city in joining in some kind of funding, donation, granting, whatever funding process it comes, because I understand Guilford County is going to take this up in their working group this week. So the one thing that we don't want is for Guilford County to be a leading government agency for a High Point initiative. So I'm bringing it before you today to talk about how High Point City, the city of High Point, can contribute to this initiative and make it a success. Specifically, our group is asking for the city to invest at least $100,000 for this effort. You all, I think you've seen in the paper where High Point University has done a $500,000 matching grant. So they're a challenge grant, asking those in the community to match the other 500,000. So, and I think I mentioned to Mr. Jefferson earlier that if, I would say if the city wants to give more than $100,000, by all means, you can go ahead and give the other 500 if you want, and then we'll be way beyond our goal when other funders come in. But we don't want Guilford County to take the lead for a High Point initiative. So I wanted to bring it before you today to make sure High Point has an opportunity. I don't know what the process is for getting it on the agenda or getting it before the Finance Committee or whomever. But since this, I think this committee concentrates on MWBE. So with our project, the High Point Equity Project, concentrating on minority and women-owned businesses, we thought this would be a good place to start. That's all I have, unless you have any questions or comments for me.
I would say, well, we definitely going to have to, when it comes to the funding, we're definitely going to have a conversation definitely with staff and before the Finance Committee.
Certainly.
I can't remember, what's you on the Finance Committee? Are you on the Finance Committee? You're not on the Finance Committee.
No.
Okay, I don't think that's kind of why I wanted to make sure that we had a chance to hear it, because I don't think any member on this board is a part of that.
Chairman Williams, this is Councilman Holmes. I'm listening in. I'm on the Finance Committee. So if you guys have any questions, I would be able to answer those, hopefully be able to answer those.
Thank you. Yeah, it might be something that we always have the right to go and sit and listening on it. So that definitely can, on a minimum, I guess, recommend that we do remote in on the Finance Committee when this is given to them. Would it be possible because I don't know if we can even do this right now, being so early. Would it be possible for us to know, because we've done this in my short time on Finance Committee, the names and so forth of other contributors, if it was okay also to know what that might have been. That's something I think when we were working with our nonprofit allocations, we had to have something to that effect. I would say that might be something that we should do. And I think y'all did a great job in explaining what this is, how the process, and I think people need to also know that it is not, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, Councilman Jefferson, it's not just loans.
Yeah.
It is technical assistance.
It's coaching.
So Mr. Williams, if I can chime in, just so people have a clear understanding, although we're concentrating on minority and women-owned businesses, the major focus are folks that have been disenfranchised and are either underbanked or unbanked businesses. So, Frank Thomas, for instance, has a small business and he has had trouble getting capital to get the business going. So this project will be available for Frank Thomas to come in, sign up for, I would get coaching, mentoring, help with my financing, and try to prepare me for a bank loan. Then when I go to get the bank loan, if and when I'm denied, then this could be this could be a fallback plan for potential financing. This is not the number one financing entity, if you will, but this is, we want to have the funds available. So when and where Frank Thomas goes and is denied a bank loan, can have, but this process is going to get him as bankable as possible. We've done everything we can, signed on to whatever training, mentoring, coaching, preparing your business plan, whatever. We want to make sure you have a solid packet to take to a bank and make you the best, so you can make your best case to the bank. So then this would just be an alternate or an alternative capital opportunity. So you're absolutely right. This is not just an angel network or an angel fund, but this is a preparation opportunity to get people better prepared to go see a bank, and then when the bank denies them, have the funds possibly to get a loan, if that helps you.
It does. I think that needed to be said and explained, because the first thing typically a general pop would just think it's all about funding, and I know that's not the case. So we don't have we don't make a recommendation to move it over to. Hang on, or I'll turn it over to Councilman Jefferson.
Well, so right in the vein of where you're going, and this is Councilman Jefferson, Chairman Williams, right with what you were saying, to sort of segue to what item or what sort of action do we potentially consider today? I think a number of things come to mind. I think that there's some probably finding out and deliberation that needs to be done and research done, I think, I'm thinking staff side. With respect to staff, I know they've got their eyes on the books a lot closer than we do as council members, and being able to look and see where there's opportunities and how it aligns and what all that looks like. So perhaps it's if, and again, I think Reverend Thomas mentioned it earlier, because this is the committee that's heard all the updates and reports about our MWBE engagement and where we are with that. And we've had those conversations. I think everyone knows where I stand, and that I like to see us become maybe a little bit better in our participation of MWBE vendors and enterprises. And certainly this is an external, outward-facing, community-wide collaborative opportunity to ensure that we're supporting the kind of vendors who, quite frankly, are MWBEs and also economically disadvantaged and unbanked and underbanked enterprises. And so, because we are the committee that's been looking at the MWBE process, I think it's totally appropriate as that committee to maybe, and I don't know if it's the request, the recommendation, the blessing that staff become involved in those conversations with the High Point Community Investment Campaign and its steering committee. And then also, to the point I think you're about to make, I don't know if it's been done, but a recommendation from a subcommittee to another subcommittee that it be considered for their deliberations as well, finance, because certainly what we're seeing is governments everywhere are understanding the role they play in this. You know, our sister city, the city of Greensboro, over the past several years has committed $2.1 million to these kind of efforts. Now, they didn't do all at once. I actually think they started with $100,000 the same way this steering committee here locally is asking the city of High Point to do. But after a while, what they saw was a major return on investment on those residents who were being impacted, the entrepreneurs in their city who were becoming stronger. There was an economic development component. Their local economy became that much better, and they were able to live out, I think, the purpose and belief and creed that their city can be a city of all people. And I'm often one who's a champion for our brand, which is North Carolina's international city. And so finding ways to ensure that the single most livable, safe, and prosperous community in America is being just that for our entire citizenry at large. I think this is certainly something, whatever the formalities of it are, or whatever the nuances of it are, I think we've got to get to a position where ultimately the city of High Point supports this with dollars, with some other type of support. And we make the emphasis that this is something that is important to us.
So with that said, do you want to make a motion to that effect? Is that doable? Is that something that we do?
Councilman Hudson.
Yeah, could I interject this, Councilman Hudson? As the way I see it, we have several options. One, the Finance Committee is already set up to do this with their nonprofit allocations. This is exactly what that is for. That's already earmarked in the budget. It's already dedicated to do exactly that. I don't want to throw a wrench in the system, but it's not our job to make the budget. So if you want this included in the budget, Randy McCaslin's honestly the person that you talk to and have conversations with him. He is the one that creates the budget. We only approve it. So it's not really our place to say, we want you to put this in the budget. It's his place to say, here's what I would like to recommend. You approve it. So that said, we could either put it in finance or under our nonprofits, or simply talk to Randy McCaslin. I mean, Randy's the one that develops the budget. So that's an easy conversation to have. That's the next step I would take. Is that, I don't want to talk out of line. Is that acceptable with you, Randy? I think that's the easiest, the two easiest.
I'm almost tempted to say both. What I would say, because if I'm out of line on this, Madam Attorney, if you're still listening, is that we still can make a directive that, you know.
Yeah, Chairman Williams is City Attorney Joanne Carlisle. I did hear several different recommendations. It sounded like one of those would be to send it back kind of to Mr. McCaslin and staff, and then make a determination as to whether or not it would be the will of staff, and of course some other discussions, perhaps even in groups smaller than majorities with council, to then direct it to another committee or to the whole council, whichever the decision would be.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
All right.
I don't know if I narrowed down your options a whole lot, but
Even if we turn it over to him, we can at least make it with a positive recommendation. Is that right?
you could certainly turn it over to him and request that the manager's office and staff look into it further, gather information, and come back with a presentation to whatever body you would determine would be correct.
Okay. Not to step on toes, and I don't know, Mayor Pro Tem will get too upset about it, but if we can look at that after it's vetted with the staff, I think I would like to do that, unless that's just something that's too, if it's against our charter or anything, I definitely don't do that, but I still want to, if it's possible, if we can come back this way, I would have that. So I make a recommendation that we do send this to staff to run through its process. If we can add a note of positive recommendation to this, I'll make that in a motion form, and if that's okay,
Second real fast. No.
Okay. I want to make sure that I said that correctly, Madam Attorney. Did I do that correctly?
Yes, sir. I believe so. Yes, sir.
Okay. So it's seconded by Councilman Jefferson. Is there any other discussion?
I think that's a great motion. It's a good way to do it.
All right. So I'll start with, and I know we don't have this here, so I'm just going to kind of, I'm going to do this on your adjournment. Okay. Sorry about that. Councilman Johnson.
Aye.
Councilman Jefferson.
Aye.
Councilman Hudson.
Aye.
And Councilman Williams vote aye, so that passes. And I'd like to thank you both, Councilman Jefferson and Pastor Thomas, for taking the time to bring this to us. This is very important forward momentum, I believe absolutely necessary for us to play a part in what happens into creating a more holistic High Point. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
All right. All right. With that said, that was the last item on, okay.
Actually, as I was sitting here, I realized there was an item I did not mention to you during my report. There will be a request on the agenda for on the 15th, a property conveyance request. If you recall, with the Cedro subdivision, it was always envisioned that all the property would be conveyed to CHS at some point. CHS has sold 2 houses, taken offers on the second 2 lots because you conveyed 4 lots to them back in April. And so what we're going to ask you to do is to authorize conveyance of properties to them as needed. In other words, it opens up the whole subdivision for the buyers who then come in because now it's ready. Before we couldn't go past those 4 lots, but now that the street's done and the biocell is in and all that kind of stuff, then it's open, the whole place is open and people are in there riding around going, I want that lot and I want this lot and I want that lot. And it would make it a lot faster if we could, if council would approve the conveyance and then when they request it, we do the conveyance rather than each time being a separate request. So that'll be on the agenda for the 15th. And I guess, Joanne, I guess we need to vote on that or?
I don't believe so, Mike. It sounds like you're just making them aware of something that's going to be coming to them in the future.
I just wanted you to be aware.
My notes. Thank you, Mike. All right, is there any other business? All right, and with that said, is there anybody against adjournment? In that case, we are